Yeah. Uh-huh. It's a good song. But welcome back to the Animation Revaluation podcast, everybody. I The funniest part about that is that I loaded into like the wrong scene and it was just a black screen. It was just Oh man. Welcome back to the Animation Revaluation podcast, guys. I am your host Lizer, and with me today is Just Jay. What's up, Jay?
Yo.
I say Just Jay like it's Just Jay. It's whatever. He's here all the time. But James is out sick this week. He's in the chat right now. He says hi. Hey James, fucker. But I'm tired.
Honestly, I felt bad.
Yeah. It's been a very long week. I've lived like 3 weeks this week. Hi Jess, how you doing? But even though we were busy and we've had long weeks, we still were able to sit down and watch a little something.
Yes.
And it was my pick this week. Yay, woo, hooray. And I decided to forego the anime and instead just choose a cartoon movie, a Disney cartoon movie. I'm gonna stop. We watched Atlantis, the Lost Empire.
Yeah.
You're also sick, Jess? It's James's fault. Castrate him.
I agree. Oh.
I said what I said. I'm not afraid. I'm not the one being castrated.
Oh.
Huh? What?
Nope. Nope.
She got sick first, yo. I don't give a damn. It's still your fault. Anyway. So we watched Atlantis. The reason I had us watch Atlantis is because I felt it was one of the few Disney movies that were made. There was like this time period where Disney was putting out movies and they got like cult followings, but they weren't really considered successful, and they ended up having like canceled sequels or just like getting no love at the time, you know, like that kind of thing. And this I felt was one of the movies that had that happen, where it's like you ask people about it now, people who saw it back in the day, because this came out in 2001, and they'll say like, oh yeah, that movie was great, I remember loving it, and blah blah blah. But back then everyone was like, it was, you know, it's whatever. It was an okay movie. Would you agree with that?
I'll be honest. I don't think I watched that movie until like maybe 2008. So
I just felt myself age. I felt wrinkles form on me.
but it's definitely a movie that I've watched over and over again, for sure.
Uh-huh.
So I don't think it had the overall effect of how it went for others for me, because I genuinely just enjoyed the movie. It was just really good, and a few years later I've come to appreciate it even more. I'm not elaborating on that.
That's worrisome. I don't like the way you said that.
What?
What?
Said what?
What?
I just said it. I literally said I came to enjoy the movie like a little more than I did as a kid.
Why? Because you said you're not elaborating. Elaborate. Explain.
I refuse.
That's why I'm worried. I saw J as Lizer. What?
What?
Why do you spell J like that? Anyway, let me get into what this movie actually is. God help me, if please let Liza remember what this movie's about. I saw it last night and I can't remember it. Oh boy. Okay, so we have Milo James Thatch.
Yes.
Grandson of Thaddeus Thatch, who I do not have a picture of, who was an explorer. His words for some reason were coming out of your avatar, but I think you fixed it. Yeah, I did fix it. I noticed it. So his grandfather was an explorer and would tell him, you know, grand stories as a child. I meant to get the picture of him as a kid with his grandfather. And Milo grew up, you know, hearing these stories, falling in love with these things. So he studied linguistics. He started learning languages, piecing together dead languages, runic symbolisms and stuff like that. And he is obsessed with the idea that Atlantis exists. And for anyone who doesn't know what Atlantis is, it's an ancient empire that was supposed to have been, you know, very advanced for its time. This is like real life mythology here. It was supposed to have been very advanced for its time, and something happened and it sank into the ocean, never to be seen again, no remnants of it or anything like that. And it's basically the same story in the movie. And he's spent like basically his whole life studying it and, you know, trying to dig up clues as to like how can we discover Atlantis, how can we find what their power source is, and you know, bring it to the current day, because I think this takes place in 1914. They like just made the combustion engine for cars or something.
Yeah.
So he's obsessed with that to the point that he like pesters. He works at a museum. He's supposed to be like head of linguistics, but he's basically relegated to just fixing the boiler in the basement, and that's like his office, is like the boiler room. So I lost my train of thought. So he bugs his bosses about this all the time, and they're just sick and tired of it. They don't want anything to do with it. They don't believe him. They feel like he has no substantial evidence. So he's planning on doing this like big presentation, and when we actually first see him, it's set to be that you think people are watching him present, but it's just like mannequins or something. But he has this whole presentation laid out, and it's actually a really good presentation, very detailed and everything, about, you know, how explorers in the past messed up, and, you know, they mistranslated a rune, so people thought that this specific book that would tell you how to get to Atlantis was in Ireland, but in fact it was in Iceland. Like they just mistranslated a single letter. Yeah.
One letter.
Yeah.
Crazy how one letter can just change a whole word.
Yeah. I mean, even like when it comes to languages, like say Spanish, for example, the little accent mark can completely change what you say too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Cause like años and anos, years and butthole.
Right.
So yeah, he's gonna be making this presentation. He suddenly gets this like a pneumatic tube, which I always thought was so freaking cool. I've never seen one in real life, but I love them. A letter comes down and it says, why you know that is not surprising. What? Why do I? Who, me? Anyway, he gets a letter in the tube and it says, we've changed your appointment time to like a half an hour earlier, I think it was. And then he looks up at the clock and it's that time now. So right away he gets another letter and it's like, oh, you missed the time, sorry, we're leaving. And you see like all these rich people that like I guess run the museum he works at, like just they dip. And when he comes out, he starts like trying to run after them, and they all like scattered. It goes into like, if you remember like classic Scooby-Doo, like when they would run into a door and then pop out like 3 other doors. So they did that. There's still sirens, dude. What the frick? Bro, I'm muting. Apologies. That was like literally in front of my window. So they all like run away from him, and he's like trying to track down the main benefactor. I don't even remember what his name is. I know he's played by the same guy who plays like Jumba in in Lilo and Stitch. But the guy basically just ignores him. So Milo gets to the point that he's like, listen, look at this, and he pulls out like a piece of paper. It's like, what's that? It's like, this is a letter of resignation. If you don't fund my project, I'm gonna quit. And the guy's like, yeah, okay, flush your whole career down the drain, see what happens. And just like, he basically said, do it, pussy. Right?
You won't.
You won't. Fight back. And it just kind of leaves Milo dejected. I don't even think he like, I don't think he was actually going to quit. I think he was hoping that it would like scare the benefactor into it. Cause even, well, let me continue first. He goes home. It's like it's starting to rain. It's dark in his apartment, and we suddenly see, where is it? We get to meet Lieutenant Helga Katrina Sinclair. Right? So we get to meet her. She's in his apartment, like waiting for him. And she tells him that she has a benefactor that would like to meet him. And he's like, okay, how are you in my apartment? What the frick is happening right now? And she's like, oh, don't worry about it. You're gonna want to meet this guy. So he just like kind of goes along with it, which I feel is weird. James is sheeshing in the chat. Why are you sheeshing? Yeah, so he just kind of goes along with it. He oh, because of the picture I put. Here's a normal picture. It was, you never said anything about it, so I just left it. Here's a normal picture of her. That's Lieutenant Helga Katrina Sinclair, or as I like to call her, mommy. So he agrees to meet this mysterious benefactor, and as they drive up to this like big mansion, Helga is telling him like, you will address him as Mr. Whitmore or Sir. You will not speak unless spoken to. You will not be seated unless he asks you to be seated. And it makes you think it's going to be this really uptight, like scary dude. But what we get instead is like this almost like crazy sounding old dude. He's like doing yoga, pantsless, and just like letting everything hang out. It was weird, man. Like, I felt uncomfortable. But he basically explains like he knew Thaddeus, which again is Milo's grandfather. He went on a lot of adventures with him. They shared stories all the time. They were close friends, and he promised him that if he could ever find proof of Atlantis existing, he would not only fund the project fully for the exploration, but he would kiss him. And he says like that was the best and worst day of my life or something like that, and pulls out a picture after having just kissed the grandfather, and they're like both wiping their faces. But it was the discovery of, I think, the book, right? The journal. Yeah, that's when they discovered it, or at least its existence, because as we said before, it was in Iceland. So he had dispatched a crew. At this point, we don't know who the crew is, but there was a crew, and he said, I found the book. And there was one part that Milo's like, where'd you find it? It's like, Iceland. And he's just like, I fucking knew it. He has that moment of like, oh. Everybody told me I was wrong. I proved. But Milo is very much like, he's stating his love of this project, his love of his grandfather, and the passion he has for it. And Mr. Whitmore is kind of being nonchalant about it. Makes it seem like he doesn't really care much, but in fact he was just like gauging what Milo was going to react like, and it was kind of like to deem him worthy, you know, see if he was like his grandfather. And that's when he reveals to him, like, I'm going to fully fund this project. You're in charge of, leading everyone there and deciphering the runes in the book and all that type of stuff. So then it just kind of jump cuts to, oh man, I should have got pictures of like the ship and everything. It just kind of jump cuts to us meeting the crew, and I'll just put them all up and give them a description. I don't really have a specific order, but we have the commander, which is this guy right here. That is Commander Lyle Tiberius Rourke, and he's just like generic military man, like decorated veteran, very like to the letter type of guy. You could tell like he's just a classic animated military man. I mean, especially in this point of time in like animated movies, when they had a military man like this, you basically knew not to trust him. Like, look at Iron Giant.
Mm-hmm.
It was like the same type of thing.
Chin.
Just this chin. Oh, look, James is participating. There goes the ship.
Oh, nice.
Did they ever give it a name?
I do not know.
Let's call it the Atlantis. It's a shit name, but whatever. After the commander is the doctor. His name is Dr. Joshua Strong Bear Sweet, but everyone just calls him Sweet. And he was actually half African American, half Native American, which is why, he has the Strong Bear in his name. And I don't know, I felt like that was such a cool like representation to have, especially for a movie taking place around this part of like this time period.
Cool. It's like I wouldn't say inclusive, but like definitely, it's huge.
Yeah, and there's no like stereotype stuff with him. They don't make him like stereotypically black. They don't make him stereotypically native. He pulls out like the chain that has like the feathers on it or whatever. But that's just like he's saying like, oh yeah, I got my doctorate here. I did this, and it's like mementos that he keeps. That's probably the closest they get to that kind of thing. But he's a very like weird but like laid back character. Like this face that he's making in the picture was like a meme for a while, and it's because when he first meets Milo, he goes into like doctor mode, and he's like, I need to check. He checks his temperature, his I think he checked his weight, his pulse, and then he pulls out like these two big jars. He's like, I'm gonna need a sample. I'm gonna need you to fill these up. And Milo's like, with what? It's probably also a good time to bring up Mole. Here we go. This is... Wait, what did he say? Well, they respected him, plus they went on an adventure with everyone else except Milo to get the shepherd's journal right. Yeah, I was gonna get to that. I was gonna introduce the whole crew first. Man, even when you're not here vocally, you're still interrupting me. Yeah, this is Gaetan Moliere, and he is a mole man, basically. He is supposed to have been brought on board to study like dirt, basically. That's what he does. He studies dirt and like all that area of stuff, like rocks, sand, anything like that. He has these special goggles that can like zoom in. He can taste the dirt and find out its origin. He'll be able to tell you like like for example, Milo, he took a piece of dirt out from under his fingernail, and he was able to say like, oh, you write with a number 2 pencil, but only the type that's used in like offices and museums and stuff like that. You had this for like breakfast. He was able to like break down everything for him, and I guess it's a testament to like how good he is at his job. But he's so fucking weird. He is literally a mole man. Yeah, he's French.
Yeah.
Are you saying that's why he's weird?
Nah.
Are you sure?
Yes, it was just very quick.
He's so weird. Isn't he French?
Yeah, that was just.
It's like, why? Yes, he is. Why? Oui, oui. But yeah, he's just weird to the point that like everyone kind of, they don't really avoid him because he's weird. They avoid him because he's gross. It seems he doesn't like shower or anything.
Yeah, he doesn't. He's your typical Smash player.
God. He even mentioned he had a cat. Really? I didn't even catch that. I know, James, you asked me to talk about his backstory, which I looked up, and I was gonna bring up later. There was a sequel made to this, but I'll say here the only backstory I could find was that in the sequel he said he was raised by mole rats, but that's considered non-canon, and it's actually said that both of his parents raised him in France. They were both teachers. His mother was a music teacher. I don't think it's specified what his father taught, but he taught in, I believe, a college. And Mole, at the age of I think 7, discovered like some catacombs or something, and that's where he fell in love with dirt and started his path to becoming who he is now. If that's what you were talking about with the whole I was raised by naked mole rats thing. Who would be next? Let's go with Audrey. The one I remember the least about. Audrey Rocio Ramirez is, I believe they said 19? Right?
I believe so.
She is basically the crew's mechanic. She seems to be the only one on the entire like 100+ person crew that they start off with that knows how to work anything mechanical. She's kind of a genius when it comes to it. She, in her backstory, she says that she runs a garage. Is it?
Yes.
A garage with her father. So he's obviously also a gearhead. She says that he wanted boys, one to help him with the garage and one to be a professional boxer, and instead ended up with her and her sister. I don't think she names the sister, but I know that Milo goes, well, you became, the mechanic. What about your sister? And she's like, oh, she's like 23-0 and up for a title shot next week. I was like, what the fuck, bro? She's a badass. But they really don't focus on her too much, honestly.
No, we don't get too much.
She's kind of just put there. You're told who she is, what she does, and then she just moves on. I think she's like, yeah, she's the one that probably gets close to Milo first, if you even want to say that. She's the one who like first invites him to the group. Like, hey, you could come sit with us. Like, join the cool kids table. See, I just misread one of the names as Kim Kardashian. I hate myself. Are there any more crew members? Oh yes, of course, yes. Not just him. There's another one. So we have the explosive expert, Vincenzo Vinny Santorini, which is the most Italian name I've ever heard. And as I said, he's the explosive expert. His backstory is that his family owned a flower shop. He helped them at the shop all day, every day. It drove him absolutely nuts. One day, the store next door had like a gas leak, I think. And it went off. It blew him through the window and just awoke something in him. And he's just been like basically a pyromaniac, explosion maniac. What would you call that? Is that
you on that?
Yeah, because a pyromaniac loves fire. He doesn't really care about the fire. He likes the boom.
Yeah, there's a term for it. I just can't.
Explosiphile. It was a dry cleaners that explode. Yeah, makes sense. But look at the smile on that face when things go boom. I think he was. Wasn't his picture that they gave Milo like a mugshot?
I believe so.
And they just like bailed him out of jail and just like, alright, come on this expedition. I feel like he's also one that's not really given too much.
They don't shed too much light on him either.
Yeah, I mean on any of them really. They just, some feel like they just have more soul than others, I guess.
Yeah, I guess you can say that. Because more of their character shines through with their interactions with Milo, rather than just them on their own.
Yeah, definitely.
So you just see more of them when they interact with Milo than anything else. But
let me see. We have 2 more crew members to get through. Next up is the cook. That would be Jebediah Allardyce Farnsworth, aka Cookie. And this man is just your like podunk old western cook. He only believes in like cooking with bacon grease and beans. He doesn't believe vegetables should be on anyone's plate. He thinks that there's like 30 states in America. He has them tattooed on his stomach.
That was the strangest thing I saw.
he was like that he could make like Iowa dance or something. I don't remember. Yeah, they mentioned they bailed him out when they were explaining it to Milo at the beginning. Yeah. There's not much to say about Cookie. He's just the cook. He's not a very good cook. Nobody really wants to eat what he makes. But I do want to point out he is played by Jim Varney. I don't know if anyone watching knows who that is, because he actually passed away before the movie even came out. But I grew up watching Jim Varney. Here's a picture of him. Maybe that'll like boost somebody's memory. I'd be like, oh, that guy? I grew up watching him. He did a lot of movies. There was a series of movies called the Ernest movies. And it was like Ernest Saves Christmas, Ernest Goes on Vacation, Ernest Goes Back to School. And it's just this like, he played this guy who was just a fun-loving idiot and would just get into bad situations. And he was very well known at the time. He was a huge star basically. And he was just like another name added onto this list of movies, this list of actors in this movie. Because there's actually a ton of well-known actors in this movie. I don't know if you noticed that. Like Milo, I didn't say before, but he's played by Michael J. Fox, who people might know from Back to the Future. Yeah. And then there's also I'll just go ahead and introduce her so I can talk about who plays her as well. Kita Gakash Nadach. Am I racist? Am I racist for that? Her name's Kita. Kita for short. She's played by Cree Summer. And if you don't know who that is, number 5 on Codename Kid Next Door, Susie Carmichael on Rugrats. Basically any character, whether it be a young boy or a female character, from the late 90s to like mid 2000s that had a little bit of melanin on their skin, She played them.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah, like any character at all, it was her. But Kida actually runs into them as they're going through like all these tunnels and everything. And she is, spoiler, like the princess of Atlantis. I think the movie actually opens on her, doesn't it? Yeah. So she runs into them. She's wearing like this big like tiki mask. I'm reciting this all from memory.
She had a really big mask, and it was hard to tell like her actual size because of the how big the mask was. And so if you ever saw like her or any of the others like in the dark, you would just see the mask. You would see the shadow.
Yeah. So I think Milo had gotten hurt and she healed him. So if you can see on the picture, she has like a crystal on her
around her neck.
Yeah, let's say that. Man, it's hot in here. So she has this crystal, and it's imbued with some kind of magical power that she doesn't even really know what it is, but she's able to heal him with it. And she like kind of scares away. Milo chases after her, and the crew follows. Now at this point, the crew is no longer the like 100-man crew that they had before, because like a giant mecha lobster attacked them while they were underwater, and they lost like 90% of their crew. So it's just like the crew that I said before, like all the named characters. Did I mention Miss Packard? Oh my god, how could I forget Miss Packard? The fucking sirens in the background. Here's Miss Packard. She's like on the sonar, I guess you could say, and she's the one who also makes the announcements. She is an old lady who just does not give a fuck anymore. Like, they're getting attacked by the giant mecha lobster, and she's on a call with her friend. She literally says like, "Oh, he took his suitcase, honey. He's not coming back," and they're getting attacked. She's like, "All right, I gotta go." No, I'll call you. Don't worry about it. So it's like them and a couple of soldiers. So Milo's chasing after Kida. Here's the tiki mask thing. And, you know, he loses her, but he stops on this, like, edge of a cliff, and we don't get to see what he sees, but he's just, like, in awe, and everyone catches up to him, and we finally get the pan out, and we see Atlantis in all its glory, and it's kind of just, like, low floating above the water, and there's, like, lava separating them, and a bridge. So they cross the bridge, and are they like stopped? I don't remember.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, I can't go any further, and then a language exchange is like just done. I don't remember exactly what was said.
I know they end up meeting the king though.
Yes.
Yeah, so here is the king.
Because they persuaded that they're there, you know, as explorers. He was like, we're not here to cause you guys any harm. We're here to observe.
I thought things were gonna get real bad because the king was like, "Listen,
I gotta go."
Like they know the secret of Atlantis. They cannot leave here alive. And I was like, "Oh." Well then, fun fact in the movie: there's a total of 35,185 deaths. What the fuck?
What?
Did you make that up, or is that a real? That's not a fun fact. That's horrible. That's not fun, James. If you think that's fun, you have a problem, bro. But yeah, this is the king, Kashakim Nadach. I don't know if I said that right. It's Atlantean. I can't be racist to a thing that doesn't exist.
You're doing great.
Am I?
Yes.
I don't know, man. Sometimes I feel like I'm just underachieving on everything.
Can we stop it?
It's getting too real. Hold on. Hercules has 20,000 deaths. I don't know what's with Disney and death. What's with you and death? Why are you bringing up so many deaths? You want to talk about it, buddy? You need a hug? But the king basically says like, yo, y'all can't stay here. Like, yeah, my mom said you gotta go. And it's actually Rourke, because Milo was like, all right, I guess we gotta go. I guess that's it. We know it exists now, though. But Rourke is like, nah, I'm gonna get me some treasure, bruh. And he's like, hey, can we at least stay the night? Like, it's cold outside. Please?
My mom asked me to ask your mom.
My mom already said yes. So I just need your mom to say yes, and then it's all good. I have snacks. But the king is like, alright, listen.
Fine. One night.
Yeah. Tommy Lee Jones voices him, right? No. It's not Tommy Lee Jones. It's Leonard Nimoy from Star Trek. Wait, the king? Oh, Rourke? I have no idea who voices Rourke. He's an asshole. It might be Tommy Lee Jones. I don't know. So they stay the night. It feels like a lot more than a night. It feels like so much happened. It's like the point of the movie where they're like, all right, we got a time limit. We got to speed up the plot. But Milo meets up with Kita, and they just both have questions for one another. Milo wants to know everything about Atlantis. Kita wants to know about the world outside. At one point she's like, when did the floodwaters recede? So I guess she's under the impression that like the rest of the world is flooded, and that's like only Atlantis is surviving. And I think that the plan was, you answer one question, I'll answer one question. They were gonna go like round robin style, but they get distracted by like these motorized like power bikes that Atlantis had, and Milo's able to transcribe the directions on how to use it, and he finds out that the Atlanteans cannot read Atlantean. They have lost that knowledge. They can speak it, but they can't read it, which sounds stupid, but whatever. I guess there's people who can speak English but not read it. Makes sense. So he's able to translate this, and she's super excited because she's like, I've tried this, I've tried that, I've tried this. And he's finally like, no, you gotta do this. And they're able to activate the bike, and it like hovers, and they crash it almost immediately. But that's not important. What is important is that she has this epiphany that she's like, listen, there's this like gateway thing, and it has all these runes. I need you to tell me what it says. And they have to like swim for God knows how long. It felt like way too long, especially with him not being a trained swimmer. But he was able to make it with her, and he starts deciphering this message that's like underwater, and it's basically like, I don't know how they fit it on such a small. I mean, it wasn't small, but considering what it was small. It was basically the entire history of Atlantis, but like on the hinge of a door. If that makes any sense. Just like the door frame was the entire history of Atlantis, which is why I'm saying it's small. But he's able to decipher it, and he learns about like the Stone King things. I'm lost on what I'm talking about. I'm rambling. Jay.
It's fine. You don't have to give away all the secrets of the movie.
My mind just went blank.
Okay.
What am I talking about?
You need a moment.
I do need a moment. What happens next? Oh, she's just excited about it, and they go back to where like they first got into the water, to rest for the night or whatever, and Rourke is waiting for them there, with soldiers and guns and just bad vibes all around. Like he really he hit a party foul, to be honest. And he takes Kita captive and is like, listen, you're gonna help me find the treasure or she's gonna fucking eat lead. Bow. And she's gonna get it. She could get it, to be honest, but you set me up for that. Come on. There was no way that wasn't gonna happen. So I think like Milo's like, listen, I literally don't know anything. Like I can tell you written knowledge, I can tell you this and this, but as far as like where the power come from, I don't fucking know, bro. And they find that there's like a riddle, like the treasure is in the eye of the king. So Rourke is like, yo, king, what the fuck, bro? And I think he straight up like decks him.
Yeah, he was like, that wasn't part of the plan.
Yeah, it was crazy.
It's changed. I was like, oh.
And then he takes his seat and he notices that like in the water is the same pattern that's like on the piece of paper that he kept.
I read the book.
Yeah, and he's like, wait a second. The eye of the king, it's what the king sees right there. Which like, isn't that exactly where they were swimming at?
No.
Oh.
That was a different part. Oh, they were further outside.
Oh.
The king's room.
Well, it's literally like as soon as you enter Atlantis, it's like right fucking there. And the king was just in front of it the whole time, and they were talking about it the whole time. But it basically leads to this like cavern that has these floating stone heads, and they're said to be representations of like the past kings of Atlantis. And Rourke is like, yo, Milo, get them down. Milo's like, how? Explain to me right now. Do it. And Kita just like gets possessed by like the ghost of Christmas past or something, and she starts walking on water, and it was fucking crazy, bro. Jesus is angry, but she likes, what does she like, levitate? I don't remember.
She just stops like using her legs while the guy.
So she becomes a paraplegic. Why'd you go quiet?
I wasn't okay.
It's like Cookie said before, no vegetables. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. That's funny. But yeah, this like these stone king faces thing kind of like imbue her with power, and she becomes like literally just pure power. Like she's like glowing. She doesn't look like herself anymore. She's just like blue with white eyes. And
Phazon energy.
She's okay, dude. She's become Phazon energy, sure. And she's just like, she doesn't react to anyone. She just walks and then just stops walking. She just stays there. So like, what do we do? And I think Rourke goes to touch her, and Milo stops him, and I wish he didn't stop him, because I wanted to see what happened. But they end up like building a box around her, like a metal box, to transport her. And they dip. They're like, alright, bye. We got the energy source, whatever. And everyone goes to leave. Milo's gonna stay. I guess he feels like he can't. Either they're not taking him, or he feels like there's nothing he could do, so he's gonna stay with Atlantis. I'm not sure. But everyone else on the crew is leaving. And he has this moment of like, you guys really gonna do this? Like, right now? On my dog's birthday? Like, for real? And one by one, they all just like, I think it starts with Audrey. She's like, alright, come on. And like, one by one, they all go to his side. And Rourke says like, all the stuff we've done, all this time, now you decide to like grow a conscience? And I think Vinny is the one that says like, yeah, we did a lot, but Nobody ever got hurt, at least no one we knew. And it's like they've come to accept Milo as one of them. They like the people of Atlantis who like showed them their home, cooked for them, ate with them. Yeah, hospitality. And now they're just gonna betray them, and it just doesn't sit right with any of them. Because I guess it's like, although they've done bad things in the past, they're not bad people. But Rourke is having none of it. He's like, all right, whatever, I get more money. So him and Helga just leave, and they get into this, I don't even know where the hell they got it, but like a hot air balloon.
Yeah.
And just start like floating up. And back in Atlantis, things are starting to like, everyone's crystals are no longer glowing. The king is like, yo, you gotta save my daughter, she's been chosen just like her mother was chosen. He dies.
Yeah.
Doesn't even know if they actually save her or not, because he just fucking he disconnected.
He disconnected.
Bro, he called me a slur and then DC'd. It's crazy. Hate this game. Must be League. But yeah, so they have to go save Kita. Now, how are they gonna do that? I don't know, because everyone's fucking crystal lost power, but somehow they're able to power the bikes. I didn't understand that part. But I guess you're not supposed to question it. But everyone gets on the like hover bike things, including the people without crystals, and just chase them. And we find out that the bikes can like shoot lasers and shit, and there's like this epic battle that happens. It's fucking crazy, bro. The blimp at one point, I mean the hot air balloon at one point is like too heavy because they like popped one of the balloons. So Rourke and Helga start like throwing things over, and they throw everything over, and Helga's like, we're still too heavy, like unless someone jumps. And Rourke is like, thanks for volunteering, and straight up just throws her off. And I was like, bro, she's hot. Why? And that's why I think he's an asshole. Not because of anything else he did in this movie, but because he threw the hot chick off. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Thank you for coming.
Bro, that's mommy, bro. But she like falls, doesn't die, gets out her flare gun, basically says, eat this, shoots it, pops the fucking balloon. Milo's there trying to fight the dude. He's catching his punches like, yeah, whatever, you're a fucking wimp. Milo pulls out like the shard that's imbued with the energy of Kita and like scratches Rourke with it, and he just becomes like a fucking, like, I don't know, like lightning beast. It was weird. It's not explained. He's just like infected by the energy. And you think that he's like immediately dead because he's frozen in place, and you just see like this horrible visage of him. And even Milo like has this moment where he just like takes a breath of, you know, relaxation. But then Rourke just like jump scares him like Five Nights at Freddy's style, and they start fighting again. And Milo bails. The whole thing comes crashing down. I think it crashes on Helga and she dies, which sucks. But they're able to save Kita. They bring her back to Atlantis. All the power comes back on. It's like they paid their bills on time or something. Yeah, there you go. There goes the monster form. And yeah, just kind of jump cuts. Everything is good now. We're not going to mention the giant stone statues because they make me angry, because I think they're stupid. It was stupid. These giant stone statues, like, okay, time to protect everyone. Ha! And then like a force field comes out and stops the lava from hitting them, and then the force field expels the energy and breaks the hardened lava, and none of it falls on the Atlanteans. Because that's how physics works.
Yes.
You know, in this fantasy movie.
That's science.
I don't know. But then Kira is now queen of Atlantis. The people have their power. They're starting to understand their history because Milo is like translating and teaching them things. The crew decide that they're going to go back home. They have their treasure. They get like a ship loaded with like gold, and they're like, "We wish we could have did more." And they're like, "Nah, believe me, we're good." And Milo decides to stay. It's actually revealed, I think, in the sequel that him and Kira get married after she becomes queen and everything's settled. You never see like the kiss scene or anything in this movie. I think the closest we get is them holding hands. But yeah, the crew, they go back to the rich dude, Preston Whitmore, and they're all like decked out in suits and like fancy clothing, and they all have like little pieces of crystal like imbued somewhere.
Yeah.
I guess to like make it less obvious as to what it is. And they're like, they all have this story of like, oh yeah, Milo, he drowned. This one died this way, this one died that way. Cookie keeps messing it up and saying what really happened, and they're like, no. So they all have their story and they're sticking to it. And you could tell like he knows the truth because he's looking at the pictures of Atlantis. And he's like, oh, okay, so this happened. Oh, okay. I guess like telling him the story. And then he gets to like this little package that Milo sent to him, and it's actually one of the crystals from Atlantis, and somehow it has power even though it's so far away from the power source, because we saw before that when the power source is too far away from the crystal it loses power, but whatever. Anyway, movie basically ends there.
I'm so angry.
Because it pisses me off, bro. Like, don't establish these rules in your movie and then not stick to the rules that you established.
Understandable.
I'm gonna make a superhero who's invulnerable to everything except knives, and then he's gonna get stabbed, but it's not gonna hurt him because he's invulnerable to everything. But what? All right. You get what I'm saying?
I got it.
Oh man. So couple talking points here. As I mentioned before, there was a sequel to this movie.
Yes.
And it was, did you watch it?
I did not.
Did you know about it beforehand?
I had no clue.
So it's actually called Atlantis Milo Returns, Atlantis 2, like different people call it different things. I've seen it labeled different things, so I'm not 100% sure. I just call it Milo's Return. But what it is basically like a 3-part story that has them like come out from Atlantis and solve problems above sea level in different parts of the world that have like roots in Atlantis basically. And they deal with like the Kraken, some like mystical spear, dude who thinks he's Odin, like all that kind of stuff. It looks very cheaply made compared to this movie. Like the animation is much more cheap. Most of the cast returned. I think the only one I could think of off the top of my head that doesn't return is Michael J. Fox. And it was just kind of poorly received, and I mean, I understand why it doesn't really work, but to be honest, it was actually supposed to be a series. It was supposed to be like 20 episodes, I think, 18 to 20 something episodes, and they decided it just wasn't working out for them, and they took basically the 3 arcs that they were going to have, made it into a singular movie, and just animated a couple sequences to make everything fit together. So they kind of just forced it all into one thing, and it didn't work out. And it's kind of sad to say that because there was actually a plan for a true like theatrical sequel, and because Milo's Return did so bad, they canceled it.
Oh.
Yeah. But it was actually supposed to be a show. Like, I think back in the day they had like a Tarzan show that was supposed to set up a Tarzan sequel, and it kind of just went the same way. Something Disney's known to do. What else? I don't know what else. I think that was everything oh no, there was one more thing. There was actually some legal issues that they went through for this movie, because it it's based on the real life mythology of Atlantis, and there's some references to like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which is a famous old story. But there was actually the name escapes me right now, but there was a Japanese animated movie that came out in, I believe, the 90s, and it had like the Atlanteans, it had the crystals, it had some of the character designs. As a matter of fact, I have this here to show. Yeah, it was called Nadia. So you see like the similar character designs, the glowing crystal. I think the main difference is that the character of Nadia was living on land and had no idea that she was an Atlantean, and finds out later. I believe. I've never seen it. That's just what I've kind of gotten from like a synopsis. And it was literally like a two sentence synopsis, so I'm not 100% sure. But the director of Atlantis was like, I've never heard of this movie. Obviously there's going to be similarities because we both have the same like source material that we took things from, but people are like, there's no way, because the stuff that was copied wasn't copied from the source material. It was copied straight from the anime, and it was the people who worked on the anime were actually rooting for a lawsuit to happen against Disney, but it was up to like their parent company to file it and do all that. And they actually came out and said, they were like, we could 100% have done it and possibly even have won, but the repercussions of a legal battle against an entity as big as Disney was too much of a risk, so we just didn't do anything about it, which is kind of sad, honestly. Like, Disney was so big and imposing that they just took the loss. They took the L on that one. But yeah, like I said, pretty good movie. I like it a lot, but I felt like it never really got the recognition it deserved. I think I'd probably give it 7 out of 10, more or less. How about you, buddy?
It has the rewatchability because I think overall this is my 4th time watching it, I believe. I've lost count.
Mm-hmm.
But I enjoyed it every time. I try not to pay attention to the smaller things.
Like me.
It makes me angry. But, overall, I can give it an 8. And I'll take a look at the sequel.
Oh no, you don't have to do that.
I know it's gonna be terrible.
Yeah. You don't gotta do that one, bro. Honestly, the like little details that I was getting upset about, I didn't notice until like I'm here thinking. Like while watching the movie, I didn't think about that stuff at all. But just like me rambling right now, I was like, wait a second, who are you people? Like that moment. Who would win? War-trained expert marksman and master of hand-to-hand combat could kill you with his left pinky plus entire arsenal of cronies, or one pointy boy? Did you notice that they gave Kita a nut face?
No.
You're welcome. Let me inform everyone of what James had sent to me beforehand. He said that he actually really enjoyed it. He gave it a 10, which I'm surprised about. I think it's good. I don't think it's a 10, but he's been wrong before, so it's fine. Why am I a dick? He pointed out that he said something that like Milo and his grandfather reminded him of like me and my grandparents, and I was like, what do you mean? He's like, oh, you know, like hanging out with them and having stories. It's like, isn't that just having grandparents? I don't know. Isn't that just being close with a relative? But I mean, I relayed the message, James. Thank you. I appreciate the sentiment. But yeah, you gave it a what?
I gave it an 8. Wholeheartedly. Start to finish. Wasn't the greatest movie, wasn't the worst movie I've ever seen. But it definitely was really good.
So around an 8 average for all of us together.
Oh, that's not bad.
I never had the chance to know my grandparents. Jesus fucking Christ, James.
Why?
What the fuck? I never knew my father. Alright, well, it was your turn next, right? What do you got for us, brother?
How do you like a good old-fashioned revenge story?
It depends. Like what kind of revenge are we talking?
Like we're talking like, you know, all you people treated me like shit. Watch me do the absolute best I can.
Oh, okay. We're not talking about like cucking or anything like that, right?
No, we're not
Action?
that territory. Yeah.
All right, I like where this is going. Lay it on me, brother.
Some fantasy as well. You know, it's never me without a little bit of fantasy.
I fantasize every night.
Oh, that's great. But we are watching something that I hold pretty dear to my heart.
Nice, Onichichi. Oh.
My God. The Rising of the Shield Hero.
Shield Hero's not the only thing rising tonight, baby. I'm gonna take pictures of my fucking Raftalia that I have here.
Yeah.
James says nice. Have you seen it before, James? Speak now or forever hold your peace, James.
You got like 30 seconds.
Yeah. I'll play an ad, bro. I'm not afraid. Yeah, you've seen it? Okay. I don't remember if I've seen it or if I just read it. If I have seen it, I haven't seen much of it because I focused on reading it. And
From what you told me, you read it.
yeah, I definitely read it. I just don't remember if I've seen anything. I don't know if I've seen like clips or if I've seen entire episodes.
I see.
But I read like decently far into it. I know at one point I caught up and I was like, fuck, what do I do now? My life is over.
You just let a whole bunch of volumes lapse.
And I was like, who am I? What is my purpose in life now?
Where am I? Sir, I need you to stop screaming. Who are you?
Sir, this is a Denny's. You can't do that here. Where are your pants? Alright, I'm hyped to see this. I remember being really into it when reading it, and then I kind of like fell off because it was just too much isekai happening at once. Which is still true to today, honestly.
I do think they need to pull back on the isekai genre, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
It's getting real painful.
James says, yeah, I caught up too and forgot where I left off. Same, buddy. Same. Big mood.
Fucking mood.
Yeah, but anything you want to add before we end it?
Yeah, Kita's best girl. Anyone
Debatable.
that disagrees with me could catch me on the block.
I know where you live, bro.
I have a knife.
So do I.
Well, I guess. All right.
It's on site, bro. It's like, I'll go all day. She's dead. And I'm dead inside.
It's like a match made in heaven.
Yeah. Oh, man. Alright, well, stay tuned next week for episode 52 of the Animation Revaluation Podcast, The Rising of the Shield Hero. See you next time.
See ya.
Bye!